Viñales Valley always amazes a visitor. The tourists can find the most captivating landscapes and stories of surprising lives. It was precisely following one of them that the Cuban on the Move team arrived at this dazzling place in the geography of the Pinar del Rio region in western Cuba.
The landscape is fascinating. This is the famous Viñales Valley, a World Heritage Site. It is distinguished by its mogotes of diverse shapes and shades that are not repeated in any other place in Cuba. They are unique. The protagonist of this story says that riding through Viñales stimulates him as much as going for a walk in Paris.
Viñales has become one half of me right now. Viñales has been part of my identity since I was a child, as a Pinareño, and it turns out that life has given me the wonderful possibility to live in the heart of Viñales.
Journalist, writer, filmmaker, and now entrepreneur Luis Orlando Deulofeu lives in Mogotiart, this incredible place where natural beauty, good taste, and exquisite treatment will delight even the most demanding visitor. Mogotiart is more than a house for rent, as it is promoted on the internet. It is an authentic cultural project that, according to its owner, is defined by a single word, Pinar del Rio.
Yo creo en lo que siento.
I believe in what I feel, and I feel this reddish land, this soil, these lovely peasants with hats, these green shades, and this food. And there is a wrong idea sold in Cuba to the tourists, even at cultural level, that everything happens in Havana. There is a deep Cuba, there is a green Cuba, there is a natural Cuba, there is a Cuba that I live up to her. One can live in Paris, in Madrid, in Amsterdam, in Rotterdam, in Utrecht, in Quito, any place, but your nation's reddish land cannot be removed from your shoes or from your head. Even if you want to, it is impossible.
Mogotiart is always a surprise. Here the visitor can find sculptures by the artist Evelio Lecor, the typewriter of the narrator and scriptwriter Eliseo Altunaga, or our original by the plastic artist Lester Campa, but also the most diverse works of art and literature, such as collection of texts about Alicia Alonso and dance. It is not strange that a guest might meet Christian Scott Thomas, one of the leading actors of the famous film The English Patient, the hairdresser of the movie The Titanic, or Patricia Wood, one of the most recognized faces of Cuban cinema.
I wanted to sell a cultural Cuba, the Cuba that I am, the Cuba I believe in, which is that Cuba that we have deep down inside, with all the problems that we have, but always with a theme that I defend and that always try to make so. I don't do anything by having writers coming here and sit down to read their stories among themselves. I don't do anything by having here someone from ecotourism selling their motorbikes. No, the local people, the ones that live here, the ones that soil the valley and cultivate it, they are the ones that have to be here. That's to say, there should always be communication with the community.
Events of photography and ecotourism are held here, and for the last 4 years, the International Meeting of Children's Literature in Pinar del Rio has been held here. Luis Orlando says that art opened his mind, and that is why Mogotiart flies along. He says that he's a Guajiro who fled from the countryside looking for art. He lived in Europe for 20 years, worked in his profession, published books, and wrote scripts for reality shows and soap operas, but he came back 7 years ago.
Yo tuve que irme de Cuba.
I had to leave Cuba to discover how Cuban I was. There are many Cubans today doing Cuban things outside of Cuba. The important thing is the nation. I believe that the important thing is Cuba. I believe that the important thing is the Cuban identity. And I'm not saying that the Cuban identity got into the pores of my skin, because I was born here, and that is inevitable. But it grows more into you when you travel, when you build yourself as a Cuban, much more than if you didn't leave the country. I believe that this Cuban identity that boils inside me while being outside of Cuba is what keeps me here.
Today, Luis Orlando does not get tired of portraying this landscape. He says he neither misses his profession nor his time as a successful scientist. He says that all that for him is gathered in one word: creativity, and creativity in Mogotiart.
Fabiola López, teleSUR, Pinar del Río, Cuba.